The Young and the Restless spoilers, full hello. I'm Nikki Newman. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. There are moments in The Young and the Restless when the truth does not arrive gently, when it does not unravel like a thread waiting to be followed, but instead detonates like something buried too deep for too long, something that was never meant to be uncovered without consequences. And this is exactly the kind of storm that begins to form around Lily Devon and the shadow that Victor has cast over all of them, a shadow that no longer feels distant but suffocatingly close, invasive, and personal, in a way none of them are prepared to survive. It begins with anger, but not the kind that burns fast and fades. Devon's anger is controlled at first, restrained in the way only someone deeply afraid can manage. He watches Lily with a growing sense of dread, noticing the subtle shifts in her behavior, the way her decisions are no longer entirely her own, the way Victor's influence creeps into her logic like a poison she doesn't even recognize. Devon does not simply distrust Victor, he fears him. And that fear is not born from paranoia, but from experience. He has seen what Victor does to people, how he bends them, reshapes them, strips away their moral center until they become reflections of his will, rather than individuals with their own convictions. So when Devon finally confronts Lily, it is not a calm conversation. It is an eruption. He pushes her demands, that she step back from Victor, demands that she see what is happening before it is too late. But Lily in that moment does not see concern. She sees control. She hears judgment. And perhaps most dangerously, she feels insulted. Because to her, this is not about being manipulated. This is about power, about opportunity, about stepping into a space she has long been denied. Victor, for all his darkness, represents something undeniable: influence, authority, the ability to shape outcomes rather than react to them. And Lily, after everything she has endured, is no longer content being reactive. This is where the conflict becomes truly painful, because neither of them is entirely wrong. Devon's warning is rooted in truth. Victor does destroy people. He isolates them, pushes them into moral compromises, and once they cross those lines, they can never fully return to who they were. But Lily's resistance is also understandable. There is a quiet resentment that has built inside her over time, a sense that she has always been underestimated, always expected to follow rather than lead. Victor sees something in her, or at least convinces her that he does. And that validation, even if it is manipulative, is intoxicating. Still, Devon cannot let it go. His frustration intensifies his words, sharper, more desperate. He begins to sound less like a brother and more like someone trying to drag another person back from the edge of something irreversible. And perhaps that is exactly what he is doing, because in his mind, Lily is already too close to the fall. What makes this confrontation even more compelling is the underlying tension Devon refuses to fully explain. He does not just hate Victor. He is hiding something. There is a layer of truth. He cannot bring himself to say out loud something that would change everything if revealed. And that silence becomes the most dangerous element of all. Because when truth is withheld, it does not disappear. It mutates. It distorts relationships. It turns concern into suspicion, love into resentment, and Lily begins to feel that shift. She starts to question Devon's motives. Why is he so intense about this? Why does he seem almost terrified rather than just cautious? Why does he refuse to explain himself fully? These questions do not lead her away from Victor. Ironically, they push her closer. Because if Devon cannot be honest with her, then perhaps Victor, with all his calculated transparency, feels like the more reliable force. This is where the story becomes especially tragic, not because of what has happened, but because of what is about to happen. Lily's discovery of the DNA document is not accidental in a narrative sense, even if it appears that way on the surface. It is the inevitable consequence of secrets left unattended. The paper itself is incomplete, the name torn away, but the implication is clear enough to ignite suspicion. DNA does not lie, even when people do. And for Lily, this becomes the beginning of a psychological unraveling that is far more dangerous than any external threat Victor could pose. Her mind races through possibilities, each one more unsettling than the last. Her identity, something she has always taken for granted, suddenly feels unstable. Who is she really? Why would something like this be hidden from her? And more importantly, who would go to such lengths to keep it buried? When she confronts Devon again, the energy has changed. This is no longer about Victor. This is about truth. And Devon, already stretched thin by the weight of what he knows, reaches his breaking point. His composure shatters. The fear, the anger, the guilt, it all collapses into a single moment of emotional exposure. And then he says it. Victor. It is a name that carries power even in silence, but here it lands like something catastrophic. Not because it is loud, but because it is undeniable. Devon does not frame it gently. He does not soften the impact. Perhaps he cannot. Perhaps, after holding it in for so long, the truth forces its way out, without regard for timing or consequence. Lily's reaction is immediate, visceral. Shock is too small a word for what she experiences. It is not just disbelief. It is disorientation. The world she thought she understood no longer aligns with reality. Victor is not just a powerful figure in her orbit. He is something far more intimate, far more invasive, and that realization fractures her sense of self in a way that cannot be easily repaired. What makes this twist particularly compelling is how it recontextualizes everything that came before. Victor's interest in Lily, his calculated attention, his willingness to pull her into his sphere, it all takes on a new meaning. Was it strategy, was it control, or was it something more complex, something that even Victor himself cannot fully articulate? This is where the moral ambiguity becomes fascinating. Because if Victor is indeed her father, then his actions exist in a gray space that defies simple judgment. Is he manipulating her, or is he trying to shape her into something stronger? Is he protecting her in his own distorted way, or is he simply unable to separate power from personal relationships? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, does it even matter what his intentions are if the outcome is the same? From a personal standpoint, this is where the story achieves its greatest strength. It refuses to provide easy answers. It does not present Victor as purely evil or Lily as purely victimized. Instead, it traps both of them in a dynamic where power, identity, and emotional need collide in ways that are impossible to resolve cleanly. Devon, meanwhile, becomes the emotional casualty of this revelation. His decision to reveal the truth is not heroic. It is not calculated. It is desperate. And desperation rarely leads to clean outcomes. In trying to save Lily, he may have shattered her. In trying to expose Victor, he may have pushed Lily directly into his influence. Because here is the paradox at the heart of this story. The truth does not always liberate. Sometimes it binds people more tightly to the very thing they should escape. Lily, now armed with this knowledge, stands at a crossroads that is far more dangerous than before she had the illusion of choice. Now every decision is colored by this revelation. If she walks away from Victor, she is not just rejecting a business alliance. She is rejecting a part of herself. If she stays, she risks becoming exactly what Devon fears. And that internal conflict, that war between identity and morality, is where the real drama begins. Because the question is no longer whether Victor is dangerous, the question is whether Lily can separate herself from him at all. And deep down, the most unsettling possibility is this: maybe she doesn't want to.